Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Tysus. It is the NNN show, and wow, lots of Pokemon stuff happening lately with the Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, and a lot of discussions and thinking about what these games are going to be like. Now, as we know with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you won't be able to catch wild Pokemon. It's going to be more of a Pokemon Go mechanics. It's set in Kanto, 151 Pokemon species. You'll be able to catch the Alola versions of it that was seen in Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, and it will be inspired by Pokemon Yellow, but not an exact copy of it. So, obviously, the more traditional Pokemon fans can look forward to the more traditional core game next year in 2019, where obviously they will probably have, over 800 Pokemon. It will probably be Generation 8, all that sort of stuff. Now, a lot of people are some people upset about it. Some people seem to be pretty happy about the whole idea of, you get a Pokeball and you can use it to catch Pokemon and things like that. But I don't think this is such a bad thing. Now, the Pokemon Company and Game Freak have said that this is a main game, which I would say that I would classify it as that, because it's definitely not Pokemon Go. But I feel like it's still a bit of a hybrid, a bit like the Nintendo Switch, where a lot of people sort of go, some people say it's a home console, some people say it's a handheld console, some people say it's both. And I think that's going to be the same discussion point that you'll have with the Let's Go series, where some people say, oh, it's just a Pokemon Go Deluxe. Some people say, oh, it's a mainstream title, it's legit. And others will say, like myself, I feel it's a bit of both. And that's how I feel about the Switch. It's a bit of both. So, with the Let's Go series, you have some Pokemon Go elements to it. And it's a bit cut down in terms of you don't have to battle wild trainers, not wild trainers, wild Pokemon and all that sort of stuff. So, and there's definitely a lot of main game elements. You're going around catching Pokemon, probably battling gym leaders and stuff like that, and you'll be able to catch Mewtwo and all those exciting things. So my thinking is it's a hybrid sort of version. It sort of sits around the middle, but probably more towards the left in terms of it's a mainstream game compared to Pokemon Go. Now, why are they doing this? Well, for starters, I think they wanted to do something different with the series without sort of ripping apart the traditional game of Pokemon. Let's be honest, I think a lot of fans over the past 20 years have sort of said, I still like Pokemon games, but it's starting to feel a bit stale, starting to feel a bit repetitive. And I think they tried to shake things up with Sun and Moon a couple years ago. And also too, you don't want Pokemon to end up like Call of Duty, where every single year you get a new version of Pokemon. And, people who are complaining that we haven't gotten Gen 8 and we haven't gotten a Switch version yet, we did get Sun and Moon in 2016, then we got Ultra Sun and Moon in 2017, so it's not like we have a lack of Pokemon games coming out. Yes, they're not on the Switch, but you can still play your 3DS, you can still do things like that. Now, I think that, yes, you'll be able to get your Pokemon from Pokemon Go, but Pokemon Bank, I don't think so, because you have different generations of Pokemon, and your Pokemon Bank can stay there until the more traditional versions of Pokemon comes out in 2019, which I think makes sense. If you want to transfer Pokemon, you've got Pokemon Go, and if you played a lot of it, well, then you're in good luck, aren't you? Because you've probably nearly collected the whole Pokedex, and you can just transfer them over. Now, I would say, I don't know when you'll be able to do that. Maybe halfway in the game. Maybe after you beat the Elite Four and become the Pokemon champion and that. Not saying that there is a gym leader sort of setup. I would heavily think that that's going to be the case. Now, I think it's a pretty good idea, and they could even do sort of bi-yearly. So this year you get Let's Go Series, next year you get the more traditional one, and then in 2020 you may get the next generation of Let's Go, Generation 2 only. And I think that might be a pretty interesting way of doing things. And I would sort of like that, because I think Let's Go is a bit more a light-hearted version of Pokemon. And the reason why they're doing it is because there is 800 million people who downloaded Pokemon Go on their devices. And they want to entice these people to come onto that. Now, if you try to get them to jump from Pokemon Go to the real traditional Pokemon, some people might just look at it and go, it's not so for me. But if you say to them, hey, you can get this cool little Pokeball for Pokemon Go, and all those Pokemon that you've been catching, you can play them on the Switch. That would be a really good incentive for them to go, oh shit, I've just caught all these great Pokemon on there. Yeah, okay, I might buy a Switch, and I might buy the game, and I'll see how it goes for the kids, or for the Pokemon adult fan and things like that. And, you've gotten them to buy the Switch, and then the next year rolls along, and they go, oh, here's the more traditional game of Pokemon, and they would be a lot more incentive. They will feel more likely to buy that game as well, because they've already got a Switch, they've already got Pokemon Go. So it's really get people to play Pokemon Go, get them to play Let's Go, and buy a Switch, and then you've got them really in a prime position to get them to buy the more traditional games of Pokemon. And holy hell, they could sell 20-25 million, maybe crack 30 million, and try to go for the red, blue and yellow records that we saw on the Game Boy. So that's what I think is the thinking behind it. I think that's the logic that they're trying to do. Now, obviously, I think people were thinking Generation 8 was coming this year. That wasn't meant to be, but maybe when we heard the leaks of these title names, that wasn't going to be quite the case. And I don't think it's that bad. We've already had 2 sets of main series games just before, like in the last couple years. And I think trying to get a third one in 3 years in a row is a bit of an overkill. But these Let's Go series, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to be seeing a lot more people playing Pokemon Go out there. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And a lot of Pokemon Go players who may have not heard of Let's Go, they'll see the Pokeball thing, and then conversations will start coming up. When you're out and about on the field, and they're going, oh yeah, this is part of the Let's Go thing with the Switch, and all those Pokemon that you've caught on your phone, you can play them on the Switch. And they'll be like, that wouldn't be too bad for the kids for Christmas time. All those Pokemon they've been catching this year, they can put it on the Let's Go. So that's where I think the logic is. And I can't really see how people can be upset about this. They're still doing something different without really affecting the core traditional games. They may call it a main game series, but I think it's a bit of a hybrid to the left, if you understand what I'm coming from. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what will happen. Whisk, what are you doing with my bag? So I think that's all I've got to say about the matter. Of course, people may not be happy about Let's Go, but you've got next year to look forward to the more traditional games. So that is it for me, and I shall see you later on.